All right, here we are, live on Facebook. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you so much, everybody. So, on this beautiful Sunday morning, Kartab Theatre welcomes you to the webinar, Choosing Happiness as a Way of Life, an effort on the Friendship Day for all our dear friends. So, wishing you all a very, very happy Friendship Day. The times are tough, be it the pandemic or the climate change. News of negative incidents have practically plagued our lives. And these times are the biggest challenge is to maintain a state of happy life. There are questions that we all have, and Kartab Theatre today is making the tiniest effort we can to answer some of these questions. Let me now introduce our esteemed panelists who have happily agreed to join us. Dr. Ashish Bhava, a friend and counselor to me as well, has been a senior consultant at physical rehab and stress management for over 2 decades. Besides his regular practice at MKW Hospital, Apollo Clinic and Arshia Care Clinic, he has been a resource person and OEL expert for agencies of the United Nations, Ministry of Environment, Finance, etc., and various other academic institutions as well. He has contributed to many publications about emotional intelligence and social emotional competence. Welcome, Dr. Baba.
Thank you.
Ms. Prachi Shah Bansali trains all age groups in life skills through NLP, theatre, mindfulness, meditation, breathwork, journaling, understanding emotions, creative writing, and blogging. She also trains them in English language proficiency and all 4 aspects of learning the language. She's been working for over 11 years with several institutions and clientele to enhance their emotional and mental well-being, to instill impactful soft skills along with efficient communication skills based on Aristotle's pillars of persuasive appeals. Welcome. And I would like now our youngest panelist to share about the others. And let me introduce her to you first. So Gaura Lohani is pursuing her MPhil in clinical psychology from RCI registered Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia Hospital, New Delhi, along with working as a psychologist in Beehive Junior School. She has been associated with numerous organizations such as BIMHANS, NIEPID, You Are Wonderful Project, and St. Thomas School, Dehradun. She has written and published 5 research papers in reputed national and international journals. Congratulations, Gaura. Best of luck from all of us, and over to you.
Thank you so much, Nidhi. Okay, I would like to introduce Vidisha Singh. So Vidisha is a life coach. She is a spiritual therapist and an early childhood associate. She has been closely working with preschoolers, teenagers, and adults on issues related to their behavior management, motivation, anxiety, and helping them recognize their self-worth. She has been a regular columnist in newspapers such as Asian Age, Lucknow Tribune, etc. And she believes that only a happy child can grow into a happy adult. And the secret of raising them is just to letting them be themselves. So welcome Vidisha. Thank you so much for being with us here. And lastly, we have Shivam with us. Shivam is an author of 2 self-help books, which are How to Unleash Your True Potential and Finding the Magic in You. He is a certified emotional intelligence life coach. He has been helping hundreds of people across the world to be in charge of their emotions. Welcome, Shivam. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Gaura. So just going through, what all you have done, I'm feeling happy as it is. So thank you so much for joining us. Over to Dr. Ashish Baba for the opening address.
Well, thank you, Nidhi. And talking about happiness, it is such a big umbrella word. And why do we need to talk about happiness? What is happiness? Google explains it as an emotional state of mind by feelings of joy, satisfaction, contentment, fulfillment. These are so strong generic words which explain happiness. But I feel that happiness is a phenomena which is a relative phenomena, just like stress, just like anything sad. I mean, if you are constantly living at the highest village in Spiti Valley, and you're there for quite some time, and you don't realize what is life way down in Delhi or on the coastal areas. So you have to be experienced to those heights and valleys and shallows and depths. Then only you will be able to make a difference in what exactly is happiness and what is sorrow. But lately, I kind of understood the kind of audience we are catering to. So in this particular angle, I feel like Kartab is taking a very good charge of all the kids, especially in this hibernation period of more than 1.5 years, when kids have been confined within the walls. So hats off toward this initiative, Nidhi. But one more thing, I would say that this this time has explained the social media, the digital platforms to most of the world. And I read it somewhere. It's a copied line that there's one planet where everyone is happy. There's no sorrow. People are so happy in looking at someone else's happiness, which is very, very rare. And that planet is called as Facebook. So on Facebook, everybody tends to be happy. Everybody is the best of vacations, and this explains just one simple thing, that why and how are we more focused on to show that how happy we are. We don't live our life, we live someone else's life. And since someone is a very huge population, we feel that happiness can be achieved. I feel happiness cannot be achieved. It should not be a chemical reaction that we are looking for, where the end product is happiness. I feel there should be some smart goal, some achievable goal, rational goal, where we fix our own time frame and we achieve it. That fulfillment should give happiness as a byproduct, not as the main end product. So happiness is not to be bought, begged, borrowed anyhow. You can't steal it. But yes, you can definitely achieve it as a byproduct. Talking further of the sad scenario these days, as mentioned about this planet, Facebook, people are so obsessed with self and selfies. We're so focused on to show how good we are. We can go to the length at the cost of changing our own self. I mean, getting my spectacles off, getting different spectacles, or getting my eyes blue, brown, gray, on different shades of gray. And further to getting hairdos, why? Why can't we accept what we are? Shivam has done good job in emotional intelligence, and I feel the most important pillar of emotional intelligence is to introspect. We don't talk to ourselves. We should talk to ourselves. We should accept what we are. We should not keep on sulking why I'm born in Delhi, why I'm not born in Antilla at the Bombay, why I'm not the descendant of Ambani family. It's not that. How we have to focus on what we don't have. We have to focus and accept and live life what we are, because every individual, every person in this life is important. Everyone has got an important role. I met Nidhi more than 10 years back, and this association is on. Thanks to Friendship Day, we are still friends. Whatever the primary focus of meeting was, that has been surpassed, it's been integrated in different level of friendship. So it depends what kind of intent you have. Unfortunately, these days we meet people, we shake hands, say hello, and the first thing in our mind is, I'm using the word "our" for a general population, not focused to any of you, don't take it personally. That first thing in our mind is, how can I use this person? If the intent is not to use, if the intent is to the another pillar of emotional intelligence, to have a positive attitude and having good social skill, you are bound to develop a good relation. And that relation, again, the byproduct is happiness. That when that person come across on a moving street in a mall, you have a smile, a genuine smile, not a British smile that you are walking across the road, a person smiles, and the moment you cross and the person's smile is gone. They'll meet and greet as if you know them for ages. But yes, whatever is genuine feeling, that is a big time missing thing. Another aspect of happiness in parenting, I think I'm not missing, but Vidisha is into early childhood, right? So in parenting, if I ask either of you that what is the kind of memory you have about your childhood? Do you remember your first toy or your first friend? Maybe you might be remembering a friend, but do you remember your first toy, first dress, first color of your book, first bag? No. But do you remember that you were sitting on your father's shoulders to wash the shera, or fiddling with the just being shouting at father, "Why did you leave the bicycle? I'm learning it." Or your mom teaching you something, and you remember those feelings, those moments. So those are the gems, the genuinely engaging moments. They are the real assets one should have, and they are the real assets when we look back and go into the flashback mode. We learn, yes, these are the gems where we can smile upon. So that is a different aspect. And since we're talking of both the generation X, Y, Z, whatever you call it these days, and generation parent, those who should not buy happiness for the kids, they should spend time with the kids. Because one thing which is constant is change. Every day the calendar is changing a date. Every year the year is surpassing. And every time, every second, you're losing moments. Even I have a child who's in the late teens, and I have to. I mean, it's my duty, it's my wish, it's my investment onto myself, not into her. That yes, I should have some good time with her, so that I should also have some good memories for myself. The child will keep on moving further to college, to universities, and jobs. So that bonding is required. In this particular platform, we are five panelists, and Nidhi is a main moderator. So I generally tell about the group of friends, कि yes, we all are motis, and Pirone wala dhaga is the moderator. So thanks, Nidhi, for bringing together, and these kind of smiles are which we require. So happiness is again relative, and you all are well aware of what and how this relative phenomena is. I give this example for donkey years, and he has heard it many times that if it is raining outside and I'm enjoying pakoras, is it a happy feeling or not? I'm having sipping a hot cup of tea. Is it a happy feeling or not? Is it? And the same rain, there's a fruit vendor outside who's looking for shelter, looking for a tarpal to cover all the fruit. Is it a happy feeling or not? So the chemical reaction is same. It is a water pouring from the clouds, good for someone, bad for someone. So relativity is there. The theory of relativity is active to all of these feelings. When we talk about fulfillment and achievement, so the only thing what we need to understand is that how we take things. If someone buys something very fancy, so do I aspire to go for it? Do I take it as a driving force to earn more, to learn more? I just keep on damaging ki nahi, you don't deserve it. Let me just scratch onto your new car or steal your new pen. So there are two ways of everything. So you have to define your own way, how you take it. So far, I think I've said enough as a part of opening, which has to be brief. So over to Nidhi.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, very rightly said that we are actually living the lives of someone else nowadays, because we are more bothered about who's posting what, and मेरी post उसकी post से better कैसे हो सकती है. So we are still in that frame of mind all the time. So moving over to Miss Prachi. So my question is that this is actually the new world order, and there is a lot of impact of social media on our daily lives. And also, since you talk about mindfulness and Bhagavad Gita in present times, I would really request you to bring to uh, focus how this actually has a relevance in our everyday life. Over to you.
Sure. Thank you, Nidhi. Um, what an amazing feeling to be able to talk about the same topic on a very important day. I'd like to start with one simple idea that I have before talking about mindfulness and taking it forth through Bhagavad Gita as a life science book and not a religious book. So I have marked that, like thinking positive, we have made being happy a pressure. One simple thing. Why is it necessary to always be happy all the time? This is what Dr. Ashish also indicated, and I completely agree. So choosing happiness or being happy all the time, I would like to ask all the viewers and everyone who's present here, is it humanly possible? And that's how, if we term to choose happiness, the most important thing is we must understand the need to feel happy. So taking it forth, happiness is an indicator which tells us and indicates to our deeper emotions of our choices. What choices should we make which makes us feel good about something? And to feel good, happiness is the way we feel good, more of a reaction and a feeling. And that's how mindfulness. Why? Because what happens most of the time, as and when we grow up, not the toddler age, not the preteen, we were most of the time happier in those days. And that's how we love, all of us at any point of time, love talking about childhood. Why only childhood? The reason is we were free. We were free of inhibitions and apprehensions. And then life happened to us. And that's why we go back to that period of time. So and we always say, heal the child inside and go back to that time. This is all one thing. It's being there in the present, and it is just enjoying every moment the way we ourselves have done as child. We had not learned the wrongs. We had not learned the inhibitions. I would not say wrong, but yeah, the inhibitions. Something that contradicted our personalities while we were growing. And that's how the most we need right now is the tool of mindfulness. Mindfulness is a simple tool to just feel our present self, our self breathing, and feeling blessed that every breath, every moment in life I'm living, I am living. So it might not bring us happiness at that point of time, but it definitely does bring us content and peace. So I always say that these are the siblings of happiness, peace, content. This is all one family. Happiness, I would say, has many faces. Not necessarily that we have to feel euphoric and excited and joyful all the time. Absence of the wrong kind of stress is also happiness. We might not know it consciously, but it makes us feel good. I would go to the extent of saying that certain kind of stress is required. So, and at this point of time, I would also say, and also suggested by Bhagavad Gita, a book, in every shloka and every conversation that Krishna and Arjuna has. Why do we run away? And I'm sure all our fellow panelists would agree. Why do we have to run away from any kind of emotion? And why do we have the notion of positive and negative emotions? There's nothing like that. Every emotion teaches us. It's part of us. It's me. So when we come to the understanding of this acceptance, our indicators of peace, content, happiness go higher. So for instance, if I'm upset about something, or if I'm not okay about something, we can decide. So initially, rather than being in that reaction for hours and days, or it didn't happen my way, and you know what, I'm too controlling and I cannot be happy all the time and I cannot be positive. I have so many negative thoughts and the blah blahs we speak in our mind. The only thing is, how about giving ourselves a number of hours that, okay, I'm feeling this, I accept that I'm feeling. For someone like me, I would journal and chant, meditate a bit, and then I decide the time that, okay, I'm giving myself 15 minutes to come out of this reactive feeling, because that's how much it's worth. And this is how much I had to learn. And this very thing, I call it emotional discipline. Happiness is also discipline. If we choose the right habits, if we choose the correct lifestyle, not only the physical habits that we live in the routine, but also the habits of our mind, which is called mindset management. It really makes our life simple and easy. And when we declutter things, and when we have the simple and easy, our indicators of happiness, peace can then go high. So it is all relative, it's all a circle. And the same thing is written in the book. You know, we read so many books. We've read The Power of Subconscious Mind. We've read books on emotional intelligence, and I'm a hardcore follower of Teal Swan. We have it in our own Bhagavad Gita. Every shloka speaks life science. Every shloka speaks emotional intelligence. It's about how much am I affected, and in what way am I affected for everything. So if we remember that happiness is not only a choice, but an indicator to my deeper feelings. It indicates where I have blockages. I'm not able to be happy for simple things. I have some insecurity and blockage to fear about. So even happiness shows us where we need to heal. And that's what every shloka in Bhagavad Gita says. And that's how mindfulness becomes a tool to not only live in the present, to feel ourselves the most, to use our sense organs to indicate to our reality, which is introspection. So not only our biological, mental, emotional reality, but spiritual reality as well. Like, it's easy to speak, I trust my God, but how much do we trust ourselves? So if I don't trust myself enough, how much am I able to trust my faith? It has to be equal. One cannot be more or less. So living with certain food for thoughts, I would like to give the platform to our other fellow panelists. Over to you, Nidhi. Thank you so much for hearing me, everyone.
Thank you so much for your lovely thoughts. In fact, I think we would really like to understand from you the deeper meaning and connotations of Bhagavad Gita. Sometime, definitely. Thank you so much. Over to Shivam. So you have talked much about focusing on the present. You have also authored a book, Finding the Magic in You. We would request you to share with us the risk factors that actually threaten our own happiness. Over to you, Shivam.
Thank you so much. Really wonderfully spoken by Dr. Bava and Prachi. It was really wonderful, and we talked really in detail about what happiness really is, about emotional intelligence, and many other stuff. I think those were really remarkable. Talking again in terms about what are the things that threaten our happiness, that maybe stop us from feeling happy or any kind of emotion for that matter. I think I'd like to explain that with a very simple example. That if I tell you to imagine a garden right now without any rabbits, what would you imagine? What will the first thing that will come into your mind? Rabbits. And that is the same thing that happens when we try to push our mind to not feel or to just feel happy at all times. So we try to be and we try to think at certain times that I don't want to feel stressed. I just want to push away all the negative emotions. I just want to not feel sad. I don't want to feel stressed. I don't want to feel anxiety and all the things that comes along with the idea of feeling happy. And this is the factor, this is a pattern where we end up pushing that on ourselves, on a brain, that no, this is something that you want to think upon. Because when we talk about our brain, it doesn't really care about what is good and what is bad. For a brain, comfort is much more important than what is good and what is bad. And so if it is comfortable for the brain, it would rather choose that rather than making you feel good about certain things. Considering for a matter of fact that I suppose that most of the people, I mean, just a genuine guess, but most of the people would be right-handed here. And if you're a right-handed person, or you're a left-handed person, whatever that could be, when you wake up in the morning and when you go to the washroom, so when you are about to brush your teeth, do you think to yourself that I want to pick my brush with the right hand, or do you do it automatically? I'm pretty sure that it just happens automatically. You don't have to think about it. And why don't you have to think about it? Because if you want to think about those particular things, that I want to pick my brushes in the right hand, I have to start stroking my hands in this particular order in order to brush my teeth, you would be wasting a lot of your time. And your brain doesn't want that. It doesn't want you to feel uncomfortable or maybe waste a lot of time being inefficient. So for brain, comfort and efficiency is something that is very important. And since brain actually measures the particular part that you have been brushing daily, and since that you've been brushing daily, why not make it automatic for you? Why not make it very comfortable for you? So that is where the brain develops all the habitual systems along with it. And for then, after 5 years, 10 years, or just at this point, age of ours, we don't even think about brushing our teeth. It just happens automatically. But when you talk about just brushing our teeth, it sounds like a very rare deal. I mean, why do you care about emotions? I mean, do I brush with my right hand? Do I brush with my left hand? Why do we care? It doesn't bother to me. But what you often forget is that even our emotions, even our thoughts, and even our beliefs are very much driven by our habits. The things that we saw as a child, the things that were a part of our upbringing, and the things that are constantly ingrained inside of us, those are also part of the habitual thought process that we normally think about. And somehow it is so much subconsciously ingrained inside of us that we're not even aware of what is happening inside of us. And that is where we talk about the part of happiness, that some way, I mean, like Dr. Baba also said, that it is a part of comparison. It is relative. And for me, for that matter of fact, that for me, meeting a lot of people or going out to party can make me happy. But for someone else, that could not be the definition of happiness, just because it is what their brain has registered. For their register, for the part that has registered in their brain, happiness doesn't equate to that. For them, maybe happiness is about spending time with close people, very 2 or 3 people, right? So that is a definition that we have to understand. And I think for us to understand the definition of happiness, we have to understand our values first. We have to understand our beliefs first. And unless and until we don't understand our values, we might just want to copy someone else. Like again, Dr. Baba said about that. That if you want to just copy someone else, we're just trying to copy someone else's philosophy. We're just trying to copy someone else's way of living. And somehow they are happy living their own life because it's their life. And that is why they're happy about it. But when we're trying to copy someone else's life, we end up feeling that, okay, if they're doing so, they are happy about it. And if I do the same thing about my life, that should make me happy as well. Somehow it makes us even more miserable, because then we are not even being ourselves. And then we're stuck in between. We're not being ourselves and we're not being happy either. So that is the part we need to understand, that copying someone else is not going to change your life. Understanding your values is going to. And also the matter of fact that the very important criteria of understanding our happiness should be, again, understanding our values. And what are the things that maybe threaten our happiness is the pressure that I need to be happy all the times. I need to live a life in a particular way. I think it's something kind of that Prachi and Dr. Baba also mentioned about the part of introspection. The moment you start introspecting our lives, uh, about what our life is really made up of, what are the things that actually is ingrained in our life, that is when you start enjoying and exploring your life. That's hardly, it's really, that's a really part that most of the people miss out on, that they don't want to explore who they really are, because this is a bit difficult part of it. Because when you want to go into exploring who you really are, you're going to feel a lot more uncomfortable about a lot of things. And like you said, that for a brain, uncomfortable is not that it wants. So the moment you try to step into the uncomfortable path, the brain would want you to know this is not a path you would want to step onto, because this is going to make you feel very much uncomfortable. And then automatically you would step back, because again, I would just rather be doing the normal monotonous stuff rather than thinking about what is really right, what is not right. And I think that is the part, that understanding that for a brain, uncomfortable means bad. But trying to resonate or trying to connect with your brain and telling it that no, uncomfortable doesn't always mean bad, is the stepping stone towards actually understanding yourself better. So I think understanding your values, understanding your ideologies, understanding your thoughts and belief systems is also the very important stepping stone for happiness, or understanding happiness. And we must also understand that, of course, the happiness is a relative concept, but we must always understand that whatever the things that is not being able to make you feel happy, like Dr. Babu also mentioned a very wonderful example about the rain thing. For one particular person, rain is a wonderful example. For the person who is stuck in rain, for them it is not. But we need to understand that if it is not a happy phenomena for them, that person should not burden themselves into believing that that person is enjoying the rain, why am I not? And when the person believes that if everyone else is enjoying the rain, why am I not able to do so? There must be something wrong with me. That is where the trouble begins. And that is why it is so much important to introspect there, that how am I different from others who are maybe enjoying it, and why am I not doing so? That is where introspection and understanding your values come into picture again. So I think the very basic thing that I talked about in books and my coaching sessions as well is a very basic understanding that you need to understand yourself better. You need to distinguish the gap between who you think you are and who you really are. Of course, when you talk about who we really are as a person, that's a really philosophical debate for that matter. But it's a sum of everything, right? It's a sum of a lot of things that we're surrounded with: the things we see, the things we hear, the things we talk to, the people we talk to, and the things we consume as a person, the media as well. I think in those particular aspects is trying to understand all the things that have a very strong influence on you. The media you're consuming, the books you're reading, the people you're talking to. And that is, I mean, no matter what you understand or not, those things are having a very strong influence on what your thought processes are today. You might want to reject that. No, I don't want to be his friend. I don't just talking to him for time pass. But eventually that person is eventually going to have a strong impact in your thoughts and belief systems. And that is where, again, being aware of your thought processes and understanding what is right for you and what is not. I mean, taking the choice of what you want in your life and what you don't is what makes all the difference towards understanding and getting towards that stage of happiness and fulfillment that Prachi also mentioned, that it is actually in the same domain about peace and happiness and fulfillment. And I would just rather stress on the word fulfillment here rather than happiness, because again, like Dr. Baba also mentioned, that happiness is just an emotion, and emotion can be triggered in a particular memory because your brain has learned certain ways that this particular situation is meant to make me happy. That like any particular thing that we saw in the childhood, that this particular situation is meant to make me happy. So what basically happens, the next time same situation happens, that lighting the part of the brain that has experienced that particular thing lightens up, and then you start feeling happy because that emotion is being released there. For someone else it could be a different thing as well. So that thing, understanding that part of ours is also a very important part towards it. And that is why I want to stress on the part of fulfillment, that you want to be at a stage where you don't want to run away from situations. Because I have seen a lot of people who don't want to step out of their comfort zones, who are living a life that, I'm no offense to them, but in that part as well, when people are living a life when they're not wanting to step out of their comfort zones, who are not trying to do anything new with their lives because they feel comfortable there, they feel relaxed there, and they feel that, okay, I'm living a life that is out of a lot of stress, I'm not feeling anything at all, that's totally fine for me. But then somehow they're not growing as either. And then trying to, like Prachi also mentioned, about the part of good stress and bad stress. There's some stress which are actually helping us grow in life, and trying to understand the difference between good and bad stress and the things that can actually help us grow. That is the part that can actually make us happy. And that is my own personal opinion about it, and something that I've learned in this thread. And thank you so much for this opportunity as well. Really wonderful talking here.
Thank you so much. Wonderful hearing to a totally different perspective of happiness. So the audience who's watching us is most welcome to put forth any questions and queries, or even their anecdotes or whatever we are talking forward. And once again, a reminder why we are talking about happiness is because I very strongly feel that if we are raising children, we need to be sure that we are raising children in a happy environment, because this is how we are building the future of our country. This is how we are building a very, very solid foundation for our children, for the children in our families. So that's why happiness. um, Moving over to Vidisha ma'am. So you are a life coach and you emphasize on vibes and self-love, how to attract magic. So I request you to please explain how mental health is actually in one's own hand, and it is free of external circumstances.
Thank you so much, Nidhi. Well, most of the things have already been covered by Dr. Bava, Prachi, and Shivam. And it is very nice to know that we all are on the same parameters, where everyone thinks that happiness is not something which we can achieve from an outside force. Okay, there has to be something intrinsic which needs to drive all of us to achieve that emotion of happiness. Over the years, what I have analyzed, that the moment we talk about happiness, self-love is another very high word which comes into in conversation. Most of us, we all are quite aware about what self-love is, what to do, what not to do. But somewhere I feel, we lack the basic understanding about it. We all are aware that, how can we love the next person effectively before we have learned to love ourselves unconditionally. Because somewhere I feel that when you love yourself conditionally, you cannot love another one also, like, in unconditional ways. But there is still something, very deep to self-love. For me, like, we need to categorize it in another levels to understand that how self-love can be a medium to achieve happiness. Okay. First, whenever we are talking about self-love, because we are talking about mental health over here, so self-love is something which is something very general, a very basic term which we all can involve into in our own lifestyle at least. So, when we are talking about being self-awareness, let's understand this thought process when we are talking about mental health. Self-awareness is about, we should be aware of our thought process. How are they affecting your emotions? And here, thought process doesn't only mean about, the happy thoughts. I don't know why when we talk about emotions, it is always the happy and the good thoughts and emotions we talk about. It is equally important that we need to be aware about all those thoughts that makes you sad, that makes you angry, that, makes you act in a very impulsive way. Where are they coming from? Why are they actually there? Why are they causing you to behave in a certain manner? It will kind of help you all of us to step out of that comfort zone, examine yourself. A kind of self-awareness is like, it is a key to emotional intelligence. What makes you mad right now? So for having self-love, it is very, very important that you need to be aware about your thought process. And then second is how self-worthy you feel. Are you able to accept your flaws also as equally as you are able to accept your potential? Because see, no one is perfect. But because we all have trained our children, or probably, a certain set of society, the conditioning mindset has been said that there is a continuous negative programming that we face. No, you only need to concentrate on your good things. You only need to talk about what good potential you have. But, we all are born with endless seas of potential. And we all have our own flaws also. So why not to discuss those flaws? Why not to, why to discriminate between, this is the good side and I'll accept it. This is the bad side, I won't accept it. When we are talking about self-worth, it should be acceptance of both, good and the bad side of our own self. That's what makes us complete. That actually makes us feel, how we are able to evaluate our own self-worth. A high sense of self-worth can only result in high self-esteem. And when a person has high self-esteem, of course, there will be, boundless amount of happiness that will follow. Self-worth is the realization that we are valuable regardless of what we have achieved or the qualities we may have. It is more tied to our qualities and achievements. Then I feel then the last step of self-love is self-care, which you are doing something at a physical level. Why I wanted to discuss about self-love in detail, because very recently, I found out that self-love can also trigger few people. There is a phenomenon which is not much talked about when we talk about self-love, that is self-love deficit disorder. And it usually develops, it is a kind of childhood trauma, okay, wherein a person grows up with narcissistic parent, or probably, you can even talk about if it is seen in adults, then it is from a narcissistic partner, wherein the person feels so much deprived or unqualified of the love that, they start to repress their traumas to survive. They feel that I am good enough only when I am doing something for the other person. And as the individual grows up, they develop a core sense of shame that gives them a distorted kind of view of themselves. Because when you are thinking that you are good only when you're doing something good for others, this self-view creates an inner shame. And then what does it do? You know, there's a second level to it. The person goes into a kind of self-loneliness zone. The person will isolate themselves and push others away. Very recently, I came across a person, very happy, healthy, but the moment you just talk about this particular word, self-love, this used to be the triggering agent in that person's life. When digging deeper, you know, it is like the person, it was very difficult to find happiness from within, because he was so used to fueling himself with self-love, that what meant was that outside no one is there to give me that love. The other person can only give me love when I am there to give something in return to them. So it of course happened because of a very narcissist, approach through which this person was coming. Very happy. These kind of people, they are very happy to find someone to love them at first, but they'll soon find that they know that the narcissist quality, it is a very difficult and often impossible to deal and convert into a very healthy relationship. Why I brought up SLDD also while talking about self-love is that as a therapist, it also took me some time to understand that how a person can outgrow the negative emotion which he or she has. As Prachi also mentioned, I also journal a lot, and while journaling, I found out that the most simplest and the easiest way is that at least once a week, I myself, when I'm dealing with self-love, I try to identify one aspect, a negative aspect that makes me feel ashamed would be a big word, but one negative aspect which I feel is triggering me, which is not helping me to move ahead in my life. Then second comes what emotions comes with this particular aspect, what emotion comes when I think about this negative trait of mine. It is very, very important to understand that particular emotion also. Another aspect was I cannot change everything about myself into good habit. Okay. Some things need to be under the scale of self-compassion also. I need to accept the fact, okay, fine, this one particular negative trait, I am unable to overcome this aspect of mine, but now I have accepted it. And now I'll be mindful enough that how it should not affect, my whole lifestyle. If it is even a part of me, it should not be affecting me as a whole. So, I started to explaining myself in terms of how I'll explain myself along with how I accept myself along with this negative quality of mine. And trust me, it really did help me. It helped my clients also. This aspect is found in students a lot because we are very fond of labeling our kids, giving them names according to whatever, action, reaction, or whatever kind of activities they are doing. But everyone has flaws, how a person has grown up in the concept of nature and nurture, that has defined or shaped that particular individual. So when we are talking about mental health, when we are talking about self-love, it is also equally very important to understand that something which can be a happy agent for us can act as a triggering agent for someone else. Because generally as a therapist, when we are talking or speaking or when we are explaining something, we tend to forget that not everything works with everyone. because everyone has got different experiences in their own life. So yes, I have been very conscious because I was something, for me, self-love was something. How can someone not inculcate the habit of self-love? But trust me, it is not as easy as it is said. It is not easy how it looks like. When someone who has gone through fueling that self-love, it is kind of, that person is pouring in the empty bottle all by himself and then giving that, full bottle to someone else. So that self-love is any which way is not helping the person, because you are fueling yourself and you are just going and giving that self-love to someone else. So to understand the concept of self-love in terms of happiness, it is very important that you need to feel worthy. You need to accept yourself for who you are. Let's, at some point of time, let's at least stop labeling ourselves into good, bad, nice. It's not always, good, nice, happy. The bad, the sad, the triggers, they are also as real as the happy ones are. And trust me, because the experts have already spoken about it. Dr. Bava, Shivam, Prachi, they have been doing, these concepts for more, for a more period of time than I have been. But yes, I wanted to come with this concept of whole SLDD because somewhere I feel that, when we are talking about good things, we tend to forget, the SLDD, the why self-love deficit happens because the person has already gone through certain things. The trauma which has made the person, to live a life in pathological loneliness. And then it becomes really very hard to pull the person out of that zone and, make him or her sit into that whole zone of self-love and happiness. I think so. This is what I wanted to really talk in terms of happiness and self-love.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. So, talking about therapy, Dr. Bava, I mean, you have worked with teenagers a lot, and you have been conducting workshops in institutions as well. So, I have a question for you. Like, I mean, the times that we have grown up in and we have come from were totally different, and in comparison to the mindset and the world that these youngsters are in today. So there is a lot of talk about therapy and emphasis on therapy. That discussion keeps going on among teenagers. So I would like you to tell us how, as parents, we should, be supportive or help them when they really feel that there is a need for therapy, because therapy in itself is not a very positive word for all of us, even now. So if anyone tells us on our face that we need help, we will probably slap that person if possible. So I would like you to please tell us how as parents we can really handle this issue.
Okay, first of all, what's wrong with the word therapy? And what's wrong with therapy? If you have a physical ailment, if you sprain your shoulder, if you have a running nose, where do you go? You go to a doctor. So, what if we have some emotional baggage in our mind? So, we need to fix it. Why do you need to move around with a big pile of emotional baggage on your shoulders? You need to vent it out. When we talk about emotional intelligence, we do mention about introspection and attitude management. So that attitude management can happen when we have a wide horizon vision. When we have a tunnel vision, see, this is what the role of happiness is. If you're happy, you are more open to things. You don't have a tunnel vision. You can see things from different parts of different perspectives. Like you can flip the coin and see the other side also. You can feel it. You can be empathetic about it. But when you have baggage onto your mind, you cannot even you can't even attempt to flip the coin and see how the other person is observing the whole scenario. So one term which I have coined, I'm just saying I've coined, might have been used earlier also. It is that like e-commerce, e-shopping, there is something called e-dustbin. The emotional dustbin should be there, where you keep on venting out things. So emotional dustbin is, it can be your friend, it can be your pet, it can be your hobby of painting, dancing, anything which vents out what is bothering you a lot. Two words which we all need to understand at any age, there it be a teenager, adult, or a geriatric person, that we have to move on. Something has been done, we can't undo it. But yes, whatever baggage is there, we can move on by venting it out. If we keep on clinging to it, we're just damaging our present. You can't go back to history, you can't go and fix the whole thing. So why therapy is required and why therapy is a in-word these days? Why? Because when we're talking about emotional dustbin, I give a disclaimer. For more than 2 decades I've been saying it loud and all the audience. You have to be smart and intelligent enough that who that person is as an emotional dustbin. That person cannot be, this is my observation, I could be wrong, that cannot be a person who's into the same organization we are working, because whatever input you're sharing with the person can be used later on for backstabbing. Or and I feel that the teenagers feel that they're grown up, right? And they understand, yes, we know everything, though they don't, right? They have to get exposed to the real world, because in our system we have 12 years of a controlled education. They're 9 to 2 or 8 to 2, they are supposed to be at a boundary governed by the teacher, supervisor, guards, and a number of people. So that controlled thing, उनके लिए एक क्लास से बंक मार के दूसरी क्लास में जाना is an achievement कि हमने इतना बड़ा काम किया. So when they come out to the real world, then they realize कि yes, who is the real person who they can confide to. These days, I am speaking to a friend of mine whom I got in touch with. Maybe 25 years was a gap difference in what you met earlier. Yes, safe zone. What can he do wrong with me? So you have to be in a way that went out. And a therapist, why a therapist is required? Why that if even if you have a friend as an emotional dustbin, why the therapist is required to go for this session, psychological counseling session or a therapy, is because at times you really need a third person's perspective who is unbiased. Because the very meager line of demarcation is between sympathy and empathy. Empathy plus pity is sympathy. So if a person is known to you, he or she might help you out, like being in your shoes. Okay, yaar, tere liye ye theek rahega, something like that. But from a third person's perspective, you really need to see, yes, what is the ideal thing? What should be the response? What should be the coping mechanism in this kind of stress I'm going through? So that's where therapy is required. And yes, as our education system classifies kids as primary and pre-primary, middle, senior, till the time the child is in middle class, or even till the standard 7th or 8th, I simply give one simple exercise to parents to ask their kids to write 3 names of your best friends. And if by chance, out of those 3 names, one of the name is of either of the parent, you've won the game. The child has a therapist in the family. And this therapist concept came lately to our country, because we are in a country who we would have a very strong emotional blanket. Bua, Fupi, Masi, Master, cousins, distant cousin, extended families, friends, neighbors, who are there always to listen to you. Because one major aspect of therapy is to have a person who's having a listening ear. So there's nothing wrong with therapy till the time it is done in a sensible way, and that therapy in the so-called emotional dustbin is not going to damage you further. And talking of things, what you're sharing, good, bad, ugly, who defines it? I'll pull a thread from what Shivam was saying about the toothbrush example. It's not that we started toothbrushing today. We are brushing since day one. I mean, day one when we could hold a toothbrush. So it's an insidious process that how we develop dominance. It's an insidious process how we are taught and how we train ourselves by choice. There are kids who, in their early preschool age, they're writing with the left hand. The parents force the child to write with the right hand. This is the dominant hand. So the forced dominance should not be imposed. At any age, at any stage, one has to understand I am what I am. Who defines it? We all define it. What's wrong and what's right. In our country, unfortunately, at the cost of being critic towards this particular session also, we define a person who can speak English is smart. ऐसा नहीं होता है और ऐसा सबको समझना चाहिए. हमारी मातृभाषा में भी अगर हम बात कर लें तो it's okay. We define our way to success is what way? You pick up Chatur Ramalingam. उसका सिर्फ एक गोल था मुझे टॉप हो जाना in Three Idiots. It's not like that. He could have gone to any heights to give distracting magazines just a day before the exams to climb the ladder up. For him, that was right. For us, it was wrong. So, definition of right and wrong is again relative and subjective. So, therapy is good, it's bad. Totally depends on who the therapist is. Thank you.
थैंक यू सो मच डॉक्टर बाबा, थैंक यू सो मच. एंड यहाँ पे कोई भी अंग्रेजी की तरफ ज्यादा ध्यान नहीं दे रहा है, हम हिंदी में भी बराबर बात कर सकते हैं. बात सिर्फ ये है कि हम चाह रहे थे कि हम अंतरराष्ट्रीय लोगों की तरफ भी पहुंच सके, अतः हमने अंग्रेजी भाषा का प्रयोग किया.
बहुत खूब, बहुत खूब.
आप ही की बात से केंद्र बिंदु उठाते हुए चलते हैं विद्यालयों की ओर. तो विद्यालयों में क्योंकि बच्चे घर के अंदर बंद हैं, तो हम सब जानते हैं कि बच्चों के ऊपर मेंटल, इमोशनल, फिजिकल बहुत तरीके का प्रेशर है. But amidst all this, what we are forgetting is the challenge that differently abled children are facing. Kartab Theatre has had the good fortune of working with many differently abled children, and in fact, they have shown me a totally different perspective of life. Now, these are thankfully the parents who are very, very keen. They're very eagerly working with their children, providing them opportunities as much as they can through virtual learning, and getting them into different streams as per their interest. So we have Gaura with us, and Gaura has really worked very, very closely with the differently abled children, and she is also managing Beehive Junior School in Kirtinagar, and I have been in close contact with the school, and I really admire the spirit with which all three of them, Gaura Lohani, Mr. and Mrs. Lohani, they're working with the special children. So Gaura, please tell us more about your school, and आपने उनके साथ किस तरीके से इस पैंडेमिक सिचुएशन में उनको क्या डिफरेंट प्लेटफॉर्म देके you help them bring out their best.
Yes, thank you so much, Nidhi, for the introduction. Before talking about the school and everything, in सबसे पहले I want to talk about like we were talking about self, okay, we are talking about happiness. तो अब जब हम बच्चों की इसमें बात करेंगे, तो बच्चों की जो सेल्फ है वो कैसे डेवलप होती है? It develops through their family, it develops through their their friends, it develops through play, and it develops through school. So I was reading up about an article, very interesting article on on the internet, and I found out कि COVID के time पे क्या हो रहा है. About 43% of differently able children, जिनको people who have intellectual disabilities, learning disabilities, ADHD, autistic बच्चे जो हैं, they are dropping out of schools, and 43% is a huge number, right? It is very shocking. So why is this happening? क्योंकि हमारे schools में हमको क्या सिखाते हैं? We are only taught that कि यही किताब है, इस किताब से पढ़ना है, अगर इसके बाद तुमने एग्जाम पास कर लिया तो then you have won the life's game, नहीं किया तो then you are not worth anything. So that is very sad. That is a very, very stringent concept of education. So when we talk about children with intellectual disabilities or children in general, हर individual का learning style डिफरेंट होता है. देयर आर डिफरेंट टाइप्स ऑफ लर्निंग स्टाइल्स. जैसे मैं हूँ, आई लाइक टू रीड एंड आई लर्न इंस्टेंटली. देन देयर माइट बी समवन हु लाइक्स टू लिसन टू थिंग्स और फिर उसको ढंग ढंग से याद होता है. देन देयर माइट बी विदिशा जो बाकी लोगों के साथ पढ़ती है, ग्रुप में स्टडी करती है, तभी उसको याद होता है. राइट, सो देयर आर डिफरेंट टाइप्स. सम पीपल लाइक टू डांस एंड म्यूजिक, उससे उनको चीजें याद होती हैं. So everyone has a different style, and we all are social beings. So when I talk about my school, when I talk about Beehive Junior School, it's an inclusive school where all children are studying together. They are all working together. The what our school believes in, it is that every child can learn. And what we do for that is, we incorporate different learning styles of the child. So ऑनलाइन क्लासेस के टाइम पे भी वी इंश्योर कि बहुत सारे बच्चे जो है साथ में काम कर रहे हैं, देयर वीडियोज ऑन है, सब कुछ दे आर ऑल कंफर्टेबल, दे आर सिटिंग टुगेदर एंड वी आर इनकॉर्पोरेटिंग कि अच्छा they are singing also, they're dancing also, there is drama also, there's art and craft also, everything is included in their learning. And this helps in enhancing their mental health, it enhances their cognitions, and it helps in um, making a better and an optimal environment at school. So that is what we've been doing in our school, through the online classes. So that it is not just very boring padhai wala nahi hai. It is much more than that. It is much more fun. Then we also try to talk to parents. We also try to make them understand कि there is a very thin line between um रिजिडिटी हो गया तुम्हारा और इन सब चीज़ों के बीच में बहुत ज़्यादा स्ट्रिक्ट नहीं बनना है. देयर शुड बी अ वेरी इक्वल बैलेंस बिटवीन प्ले फॉर द चाइल्ड एज वेल एज स्टडी फॉर द चाइल्ड. हमको ये चीज़ों के बारे में पेरेंट्स को समझाना बहुत ज़्यादा ज़रूरी होता है कि एक बच्चे का रूटीन तो होना चाहिए. डेफिनेटली ही शुड बी हैविंग अ रूटीन इन हिज लाइफ. He should be waking up early in the morning, he should be getting ready, सब कुछ करने के बाद then he should start opening his laptop or whatever, laptop खोल के फिर उसके बाद पढ़ाई करना शुरू करना. And then but साथ साथ में पढ़ाई के अलावा the child should also be playing, the child should be learning. चाहे कोई भी इंसान हो गया, पेरेंट्स के साथ हो गया, 1 घंटे कम से कम the child should be playing with the child. And it is very important कि बच्चों के साथ एंड उनको एक्सप्रेस करने का मौका दें. मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम क्या होता है, पेरेंट्स आर ऑलवेज बिजी ऑन देयर लैपटॉप्स, चिल्ड्रन आर बिजी ऑन देयर लैपटॉप्स. आई वाज इन माय हॉस्पिटल द अदर डे एंड इतने छोटे छोटे 3-4 साल के बच्चे आते हैं एंड दे आर कॉन्स्टेंटली ऑन द फोन, which is very sad, right? They do not have the appropriate social skills, they do not have the appropriate communication skills to express themselves. So what we try to do is, we, even from a very young age, even from a child who is probably 5 years old, 6 years old, जब उसकी थोड़ी सी cognitive capabilities थोड़ी सी बढ़ जाती है, we move towards explaining them what their emotions are, बेसिक इमोशंस के बारे में इंफॉर्मेशन देना उनको, व्हाट हैप्पीनेस एक्चुअली इज, व्हाट सैडनेस एक्चुअली इज, हाउ दे आर हेल्पिंग अस, हाउ ऑल दीज थिंग्स आर enhancing them. There's a very nice movie, I don't know if you've heard about it, it's called Inside Out. So that movie explains about the basic emotions. It explains about anger, it explains about anxiety, it explains about disgust. So ये छोटे छोटे बच्चों के अंदर समझाना ताकि they are able to recognize their emotions and further move towards managing their emotions is extremely imperative. So that is basically what we do. Then we talk to the parents, we explain them, obviously if it's a differently able child, they have a lot of stressors going on, they have added stressors because of their differently able children. So maybe because of stigma of the society, sometimes parents also tend to blame themselves कि मेरी वजह से मेरा बच्चा ऐसा बन गया, मैंने कुछ गलत कर दिया उनके साथ. So we ensure कि उनको इन सब के बारे में appropriate information मिल सके, appropriate way में they do not go into self pity and they are able to move towards optimally helping their child and enhancing their well-being, right? So all in all, our school ensures that we are able to instill the concept of hope, and we are able to instill the concept of happiness, along with adding a little sprinkles of fun in it. So this is basically about the school.
Thank you so much, Gora, and we all wish you and Beehive Junior School loads of luck.
Thank you so much.
So before we move further, we have a question for Dr. Baba from the audience. The question reads, Dr. Baba, in low life condition, what would you advise to do for our happiness? In low life condition.
Okay, so low again is a relative word. How low? See, there's something, jokes apart. The thing is that we have to develop a habit of looking into silver lining onto any aspect, anything coming onto us. And that is a technique to cope. It doesn't come with a guarantee that every time something low happens and you look for a silver lining uh, and you become happy. It's not like that. At times there is a real loss, so you have to accept that loss. So no emotion is bad, even if you're having sad feeling, if you're having sorrow, grief, you have to vent it out. You just can't control the emotion. But yes, until unless you are letting it go, you go through that phase. If there's something which you can be benefited out, if there's a silver lining out of which you can learn something which can give you even a learning experience for the future, it's fine. If not, then you have to accept that fact, accept what is your scenario in it, and then move on. That is to it. Do not cling on to it, because like it's very easy to share quotes that in any instance of life, either you win or you learn. But yes, you do lose. Many times you do lose. I also lose many things, and I am sad at times. I'm frustrated at times, and most of the things happen. When they happen, they happen towards when you're seeking towards success. So that is another good saying about it. The road in pursuit of happiness, it is not always bed of roses. It might be leading to frustration because you are putting your best of effort to achieve something. And if because of any reason, out of 1,25,000 students, if there are just 20 seats to get into some medical entrance, so it does not mean that 1,24,800 students are nalayak. It could be a matter of luck. It could be, I always say this entrance exam, they're 50% your effort and 50% your luck. So all those 1,24,800 kids, they tried their best and they did not achieve what they wanted to. So it does not mean that it is end of the world. We all should be open to things in plan B, plan C. And if you're so passionate about plan A only, stick to it. Then you have to keep on reading the story of King Brute and Spider. Try and try again. But yes, make sure that you don't cross that line of demarcation and seep into frustration and eventually depression. And that then is where our role comes in. But stay away from us.
Thank you so much, Dr. Baba. So before we close, I would request Vidisha, Prachi, and Shivam to talk a bit about the magazine Thank You Live, because thank you to Dr. Neha that I got in touch with all three of you, and you are here sharing your beautiful thoughts with us. So please tell us and the audience about the magazine so that more and more people can read through it and benefit from it.
Yeah, sure. I think it was a really, really wonderful initiative by Dr. Neha about initiating and maybe helping people understand the real basic concepts of self-love and why is it so much needed. I think it's a really, really wonderful initiative, with a lot of amazing writers joining the club as well, so that they're able to contribute some really good articles. And I think it's the best part about it is is that it tries to also work upon the parts that a lot of workshops, a lot of online engaging activities that is being carried out, especially in the COVID times, is being highlighted there as well, so that people can look up to that and maybe understand that, okay, I want to be a part of this workshop, I can maybe connect to this particular person. And for them, that awareness is also a very important part, that maybe I need to do something about it, I need to work on this particular part. And that is how word of mouth goes, and that is how people can also work on themselves. So I love the concept of the magazine, and really good luck to Neha as well for initiating that process.
Absolutely agree with Shiram. I would tell all the viewers right now that Thanks to Life magazine is actually pieces of our minds, our experiences at work. So whatever, like in depth, we would actually coach in personal sessions and various programs. We put up bits and pieces of that in the magazine. Apart from that, a lot of mind work, a lot of work at heart that we have. So it's like an amalgamation of all the experts in one magazine. So it's a treat for the viewers, it's a treat for the learners. So everyone who do not, I would go to the extent of saying, if you're not ready to go to a therapist or a coach, please read the magazine. It's still helpful. Thank you.
Please share how we can read the magazine. That I think it's a digital magazine only as of now.
Yeah, it's an e-magazine for now, so it has to be downloaded. And I hope Neha was here, but we have to subscribe, and then the magazine is shared, and we also have an Instagram page, so it can be absolutely get the access in various ways.
So
and the best part about the magazine, it just doesn't talk about the content, okay? It has so many personal experiences of so amazing people, irrespective of the age bar. There are, adults, there are older people, there are, a section is also being covered by, I'll not say teenagers, but yeah, they are from the, youngsters. So, there are experiences from different age groups as well. So one concept being defined at different levels. So it gives a very larger perspective of those particular things also, which we talk about.
Thank you so much. In fact, it will be wonderful if one of you could put in the link to subscription as well as the Instagram page. I'm sure the readers would really benefit from it. So we come to the end of this beautiful session. It was so wonderful hearing all of you. It was in fact an inspiration. I have been making notes throughout the session, and I'm sure the audience would have been doing the same. Anything that you would like to share? I mean, we all have been talking for the last 1 hour, but anything in particular that you would like to say or share before we finally sign off?
One thing I would like to add, Nidhi, whenever we are talking about happiness, let's understand that no one can achieve happiness, all by himself or herself. One need to have an anchor in life, okay? Whether that anchor is God, a book, a therapist, your parent, we all need someone to hold on to something when things are not going right.
Right.
So,
right.
It is always very important that choose your anchor wisely. The anchor should hold that strength that even when you are not standing straight, the waves are hard and you are just trying to fall, the world is going to fall apart. The anchor should be strong enough to, at least, and not say that, if the anchor will make everything look beautiful, but it can at least be helpful enough to pull you through that whole process and reach you at the starting phase of happiness. Okay.
Totally agreed.
I would like to add a couple of things. One would be just a simple formula in maths. I'm very bad at it anyhow, but happiness is inversely proportional to expectations. So you have to decide and calculate on that calculator of your life that what kind of expectations are you having from yourself. And second thing I would like to say, come what may your age is, come what may your stage is, if you're a student, a parent, or at any stage of your life, do not poison the mind of yourself and the person in front of you. And that poisoning can happen by a very simple tool which we often do, that is comparison. Comparing your child with someone else or comparing yourself with someone else. Please do not poison. Stay happy. Stay healthy.
Right, right. Very rightly said. Thank you so much. Shivam, Prachi ma'am, any last words you would like to add to conclude the session?
Surely, surely. I think a lot of things have been covered in that session by a lot of really wonderful people. Just one thing to add here that, like we talked about before as well, that don't try to work on the things, or don't try to maybe think of an idea of happiness as something that you can get it from someone or something or any other factor. You have to look within, and also you need to actually understand where does the definition of happiness come for you. That is the most important part. What does happiness mean to you can actually change your life. If you're not able to understand what does happiness mean to you, you would always try to end up chasing, you'd always want to chase that particular definition of happiness by someone else and something else. And that is where you keep on chasing it. It'll feel like you are trying to reach the horizon, but that horizon will keep on shifting from one place to another, and that will be a forever chase. So try to understand where does it come from, but then also remember that it is something that is just an emotion which you cannot always have. You just appreciate happiness because you're used to sadness. If it was happiness altogether, you'd not worry about happiness, being happy for that matter. So you actually work upon happiness. You try to be happy because you have felt sadness somewhere. So, and that is where the importance of happiness comes from. So don't try to feel that I would just want to be happy all the time. That can never be possible. Again, like we have been talking about that as well. But again, something that you don't want to chase that particular happiness. Just try to be yourself. Just try to be the unique version of yourself, and I think that should do.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
I'd like to drop a truth bomb here for everyone. Every action has a consequence, whether we are aware, consciously aware of it or not, whether we would like it or not. So making peace with the fact that every action always has a consequence, making peace, accepting it wholeheartedly, we are sorted. So we know. So it's like the thing that we want to go against, making peace with that. And it's not easy though. But even having the mindset of working on this makes many things simpler. And that sorting, that decluttering leads us to various facets of happiness. So it's not an easy achievement, guys. I know. So it's an amazing, wonderful feeling. It's a lot of work to do, though, but it's worth it.
Right.
That's it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Gaurav, would you like to suggest anything for, the youth
Yes.
of today, since you are working so hard with children?
Yes, I would just like to say that, what we really need to do is we need to change our vocabulary also. So I remember this once I was doing some workshop, and a person told me that why do we always try to control our emotions, control our happiness, control our sadness, control our anxiety. We need to change that control word, and we need to convert it into manage. So we need to manage our happiness, we need to manage our anxiety, we need to manage our sadness. So just try to, next time you're feeling happy, next time you're thinking to yourself that, मेरे को control करना है इस चीज को, मेरे को control करना है ये sadness को, then just remind yourself that मेरे को control नहीं करना, मेरे को manage करना है उस चीज को. So yes, that is the thing that I wanted to say.
Very true. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you to the audience who have been constantly commenting. Thank you so much. And of course, we'll be looking forward to organizing many more sessions like this. Thank you once again, and have a wonderful Sunday, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.